I am totally illiterate. Philosophy is easy. Anyone could do it. Totally illiterate.
And I think I still struggle with, I mean, when people ask me what presence is, I'm like, I don't know, man, it's like presence. It's a word that I definitely never felt and still don't feel comfortable with. In a certain way, you'll never feel comfortable with it. But I think we could say more about it than we did last time and sort of definitely spend a little more time foregrounding it in the sort of general importance it has. So, if a few things to say about presence, if we're talking about presence, so this is not a sort of new Derrida or sort of new. This is like a definitely Heidegger copy pasta, and Heidegger has this famous macro narrative of philosophy that Derrida is going to sign on to with some tweaks, but very much sign on to, which is that philosophy, as varied as it has certainly been from Plato to, for Heidegger, it's like Plato to Nietzsche. Heidegger thinks Nietzsche is like as an attempt at inverting metaphysics is like metaphysics completion. Derrida doesn't sign up for that. Derrida is probably something like Plato to Hegel, but something in this very large historical scansion, right? So this is like, you know, 2,500 years or so, Plato and even pre-Socratics ish. Exactly where it starts, obviously, is hard, but generally comfortable saying just Plato, pre-Socratics ish to Derrida. That's like 2,500 years, right? And basically, the argument is going to be that, people have heard that being is masterword of philosophy, right? And, your average philosophy class is going to start with, all right, philosophy is, I don't know. I know people have been in analytic classes where they don't start that. I don't know, but just for classes that deal with actual philosophy, people start generally with philosophy is the study of being, etc. And so Heidegger's famous interpretation is Greeks determine being as presence. So when people are talking about the West and stuff, like the basic argument of why this is like philosophy is Western and why philosophy is thought as coming from the West as West focused is going to be that like no non-Western, so no non-Indo-European language has a word for being that is as versatile and insane as the Western one, right? So this is the argument from the Heideggerian perspective is going to be something like the 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 Western sort of, I don't know, adventure is a weirdly benign word to say for like the Western adventure of the whole history of colonialism and Western sort of, and today, right, it's over, right? The West one. There's no non-Western society. There's no non-Western conceptuality. There's no non-Western constitution. That's all over. There's no outside of the West. So, for example, the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, is as Western an institution as can be. It's a Marxist vanguard party that justifies itself entirely in Western terms and is as against Chinese or Eastern culture as any entity could be, right? Totally Western party. It's not East versus West and sort of China versus America, etc. It's an internal dispute within the West. Okay, so like, and the argument's going to be like Heidegger through close reading of the philosophical tradition sort of draws out a universal valuation of presence. So at one point, Heidegger will be like, take Hegel and Husserl, couldn't be more different in terms of how they proceed, in terms of what they think philosophy is, in terms of, the people who study Husserl or who study Hegel are never the same people. It's a very divided camp. Couldn't be more different, but on the level of presence, couldn't be more the same. Okay, and so every master word of philosophy, so substance, essence, meaning, the good. So when we're talking about the eidos, the eidos and the good are going to be more present to speech than they are to writing, right? Just like everything, writing is cursed by absence and is a sort of absence pharmacon. Like good writing is writing that sort of de-writings itself, right? Which we talked about last time. De-absences itself, gets closer to the original, gets closer to the soul and the spoken enunciation. So speech is still a sort of not close enough, but it's closer than writing. And so the whole concept of the sign, so again, sign is signifier, signified. That's the sort of a priori core of the concept of the sign that Derrida argues is pretty consistent, remarkably consistent, Plato to Hegel, is founded on and indissociable from metaphysics of presence, right? So, which is also, as we talked about, an onto-theology. So why is it an onto-theology? Because it's not just about being, that's the onto part, right? It's also about purity and then a fall. So purity of logos in proximity to itself in the soul of the speaker versus writing as bastard, non-present sign of a sign.